Kurt Brenner, partner in Sports Attack. Background in Sports Attack and how we got to the ACE Attack is started it back in the 70s. My father, who was a high school coach and teacher, developed a portable batting cage, and along with that came a baseball pitch machine. It was revolutionary at the time. It was the first portable batting cage that you could simply take out to a field or into a gymnasium, quickly set it up and dismantle it. As the company grew, it got the attention of another baseball-related company called Athletic Training Equipment Company, or ATEC. The original founders of ATEC broke off from another baseball company, and the headquarters, or the financial end of it, was based out of Palo Alto, California. The chairman of the board of ATEC approached Portonet, which was the company my father started, and bought the company. And so Portonet became part of ATEC. As ATEC grew, making primarily baseball, softball pitching machines, and was known for making very unique products that would help the coaches improve not only their training but level of play. Also developed a division called Grand Slam USA, and Grand Slam USA was a indoor baseball, softball training center. It's a franchise, and it was the first of its kind. It grew to 125 locations throughout the country, and that was part of where I got introduced to the business as a franchise consultant. I would go out there and I'd help new stores open up and do training. Unfortunately, the founder of the company passed away suddenly. There were some changes within the company, and at the same time, the company just moved up to Sparks, Nevada, or Reno. And that's where Amanda came aboard. She was the head of marketing and sales up there. We all developed a good working relationship, and as ATEC was changing, we decided to start Sports Attack, and that was in 95? Yeah, 1995. And so when we started Sports Attack in 1995, there was this legal thing out there called the non-compete agreement, which basically meant we couldn't be making pitch machines for 5 years. And that was our bread and butter. So we're kind of looking at each other, saying, what can we build, what can we sell so we can make some money? And so it happened, we came out with a volleyball serving machine. And it was a machine that simulated a serve. And the serve in volleyball, a lot of times, is identified to the serve in tennis. The motion is very similar. And so for us to propel a volleyball wasn't a big deal, but could we sell any? We didn't think we could sell one. So our first show was in Cleveland, Ohio. We took our prototype out to the trade show called American Volleyball Coaches Association, and we came back the next morning and the machine was not in our booth. So we're going, where is this thing? And we soon quickly found out that one of the head coaches for USA Volleyball took it into a adjoining room that was vacant, and they were out there playing with it that night to see if it could simulate a serve. And they came back and said, the machine's over there, we'll bring it back quickly. You just wanted to try it out, and said, can you bring one down to San Diego? And at the time, USA Volleyball was based out of San Diego. We quickly loaded up the car, took one down for them to use, and that kind of launched our volleyball line, and now we have 4 volleyball machines. And if you take a look at our products, leading from volleyball to the ACE Attacker to the baseball or to the football machine, we just don't make machines that throw balls. We try to develop machines that are unique, that introduce another level of training that you can't get off standard machines. And the first ACE Attack prototype was a vision of my father's that really understand, because he played a little tennis, that the return of serve is a huge part of the game, but it's the least practiced part. And so he said, I don't want to build another tennis machine. There was Playmate, there was Lobster, there was other machines out there, Sports Tutor, and they're all ground stroke machines, various levels, but basically it was all ground strokes. There was, difference in programming, difference in speed, but they all did the same thing relative. And so he wanted to set himself apart by developing a machine that would simulate the serve. So we developed the Ace Attack in around 2003, 2004. The unique features of that is it was an all-in-one machine that could do the ground strokes, but also at the same time, with the push of a button, it would elevate up to simulate the serve. And not just the first serve, but with a three-wheel design that would allow you to simulate either a left or right-hand kick serve. So that machine came out in around 2005, 2006, and we all think it's a great machine, but part of our struggles as a small company in many different sports, baseball, softball, football, volleyball, and tennis, it takes a lot of time, and one product in each of those sports. Tennis people are only interested in tennis machines. They could care less about baseball, softball, or football. So for us to go and market and do all the appropriate things to help grow that channel of the business was difficult to do. So we've kind of limped along for the past 10 years, selling a few machines a year, but we really feel like to get it going, we had to partner up with a company like yours to get the exposure out there. So that's kind of where we are in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think we distinguish ourselves by introducing feature-rich equipment.
Could you introduce yourself?
That's relative to the sport itself. And I'm Amanda Pratt. I'm a partner also with Sports Attack. So I think that's our distinguishing factor, and we have high quality stuff, and we don't like to talk about service because we don't have it in the field. Our equipment's out there for 15, 20 years now that has had very little maintenance and it's running strong. So we're proud of that, and we're proud of the distinctive equipment that we put out to every niche in the marketplace.
Can you touch on the, and maybe this is for the third in the group, maybe touch on, people are worried if they're right by the ocean, with a tennis machine on hard true, if there's a high humidity, things like that. And in other sports, obviously, on a football field, it's wet and it can be very humid or hot. And can you guys touch on that in terms
Durability
of durability
yeah.
and those things?
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's an easy one to overcome because our baseball, our softball machines are in the same environment. And we have them with the Miami Marlins. We have them down in Houston. And they're sitting in storage sheds that are next to field drying clay equipment and fertilizer and just about every type of toxic environment thing that you can find in a storage shed. So we really don't have any issues. And if you think about the machines themselves, there's the wear parts. There's really three components. There's a motor, and the motors are internally sealed. What does that mean? That under normal weather, whether it rains shortly or not, water's not going to get inside there. The bearings that are inside the motors are internally sealed. That keeps out dirt and moisture. So that's one component. The wheels, they're not air-filled tires, they're solid urethane plastic wheels. So there's no air pressure to fill up inside the ball throwing wheel. They're maintenance free. I mean, they typically go 10 years depending upon the amount of use in sports. Tennis is a little bit different because the felt on the ball is a little bit kind of abrasive. So sometimes it could be a shorter period of time. And the control mechanisms are, again, they're all solid state controllers. These are electronic parts. They're in a housing that are weather resistant. It's not waterproof, but it's weather resistant. So if somebody leaves it out on the court in a short downpour, it should be fine. You can't leave it out in the rain. But again, under normal use, that stuff should go forever. And I can tell you this, our first partnership with a volleyball company, their biggest, and this is a company that made net systems. There is no motor, there's very few, it's basically a steel post that you put in a gymnasium floor. And so that was, their levels of moving parts. The thing telescoped up and down, and that was it in a little wench. And they were really concerned about taking on the Sports Attack. The main was, these moving parts. And they'll be the first to come back and say, we have had very few, if any, service calls. I mean, they're just really surprised how little service-related calls. And, you know, my dad was always has this saying, you can turn a negative into a positive. The few service calls, that's why we're out here. We hop on that right away. That's why Darren's here. He's down in Florida. He services all the major league clubs. And so service for us is you can turn a good service call into more customers. That's our focus.
I'm Darren Gomes. I live in Arizona, so what Kurt was saying is I do handle service calls nonstop. I mean, this is my busiest time of year going around to Major League Baseball, the spring training facilities, and I get phone calls, the Cardinals, I have to go service their football machine if something goes wrong, but it just comes down to storage. I mean, you're not going to take a tennis machine or a baseball machine and stick it on a field and leave it there for years and years and not do anything with it and just let it go through the elements of the weather. Yes, you'll have problems, but you know, a lot of people, if they do store them outside, they have a cover for them. Or if they do have them in a bin, we call them hot boxes in Arizona, they'll sit in there. And there's really not a lot of stuff that you need to do to your machines, your tennis machine or anything. It's just like a car. You take care of it. You know, check your nuts and bolts once every 4 or 5 months because you're getting a lot of usage on it. And other than that, there's really not a lot of stuff you need to do to the machines. They're well built. They hold up, and I mean, we have teams in Arizona that will leave the machines outside. Because they do not want to transport them back and forth for setup because the next day they have, you know, clinics or whatever starting up first thing in the morning. And they've gotten rained on, but they've held up.
Can you mention some pro teams in sports too?
Yeah, I mean, for baseball, I mean, down in Arizona, you've got Texas Rangers and Kansas City Royals that are out in Surprise. You've got the Padres and Mariners that are in Peoria Sports Complex. The Giants have their own complex in Scottsdale. D-backs and Rockies are at Talking Stick. Their stadium was just built about 5 years ago. We've got the Angels that are in Tempe. We've got the Indians and the Reds out in Goodyear. And every single team has sports tech equipment.
How many do you say on the average?
I was just at the Giants yesterday. I'm sorry, not yesterday. Sunday we're doing a retractable cage for them, and they must have had 25 pitch machines, hack attacks just lined up. It's every single field, they've got lessons going over here, instructional stuff going here, and it's just a big rotation program. They have their schedule for the morning, and it's guys running from this field to this field to this field, and it's just constant machines set up all over the place. And that's why they don't want to constantly have to bring them in and out, in and out. They leave them out.
And we're based in Dallas, Texas, so we want to know what the Cowboys are using.
Snap
Cowboys have
attacks.
snap attack.
You got-
That's the football throw.
Yes.
They're replacing, prior to, Snap Attack is probably one of our newer products. It's been out about 5 or 6 years. In that short period of time, we have every NFL club using our machine except one, and that's the New York Giants, and we can't quite figure out what's going on down there. But the Cowboys, they had, prior to the Snap Attack, they had about 8 jugs machines out there, and what they're doing is they're replacing one machine a year. So this year we'll get another order, so there'll be up to 3 Snap Attacks, and hopefully following year 4. So believe it or not, big organizations like that, they do have budgets, and sometimes Darren will attest to this, whether it's a $32 or $4,000 football machine. They're squeaky wheel. They're looking for a discount.
Yeah, they do. And that's the good thing. I mean, I don't know whether it's going to be in the tennis or not, just because of the equipment that you guys have. But with our sports, with other sports, they don't come back just for one machine. They'll buy machines every single year, and they'll build up an abundance. The Cubs have 30+ machines, just because of the fact that they every single year they have money to spend. They come back and they just spend the money, because if they don't, they go someplace else.
My name's Joe Dinifer, and you know, I think the big thing with this partnership is the credibility of your company, but there's something beyond that, is that, at least for me personally, always been passionate about contributing back to the sport. So for tennis, way past just being under-practiced, it is ignored, that people just are not practicing the return to serve. The statistic is that at the pro level, 1 out of every 4 shots is a return to serve, and at the recreational level, it's 1 out of every 3. And I've interviewed recently some top coaches, and we asked them, what % of all the practice time are you focusing on the return to serve? And their answer has been less than 5%. So you've got 33% is, the percent of a recreational player needing to practice the return to serve, and they're practicing at just barely 5%. And the analogy I gave when I spoke at the Intercollegiate Tennis Association convention in Naples last month was that if you had like an infielder in baseball, they have to learn 3 basic skills, right? They have to learn how to bat, they have to learn how to field, and they've got to know how to throw. Right, those 3 skills. Can you imagine if they learned how to bat, they learned how to throw, but they didn't learn how to field, if that was just ignored? It would never happen.
Yeah.
So a serious tennis player and a serious coach needs to work with them on that. And there's no other machine in the world offering this kind of thing. You either need a person to do the work for you, which can add up. You've got to pay somebody, and their arm's going to obviously get abused over hours and hours and hours a day. Number 2, you get a little machine and put it on scaffolding, or an all-in-one serving machine, and this happens to be the only all-in-one serving machine in the world. So we're very excited about the partnership.